In 1988, a curious Japanese scientist named Yoshori Osumi was staring through a microscope at yeast cells, completely unaware that he was about to uncover one of the most profound secrets of human longevity. While he watched these tiny organisms literally eating themselves to survive, something extraordinary was happening thousands of miles away in the remote islands of Okinawa. There, centenarians were gathering for their daily meals, practicing ancient rituals that their ancestors had passed down for over 1,000 years. They had no idea that their simple eating habits were activating the exact same cellular process that Osumi was discovering in his laboratory. A process that would eventually earn him the Nobel Prize and revolutionize our understanding of aging. This process is called autophagy, derived from Greek words meaning self-eating, and it is your body's most powerful anti-aging mechanism. Here's the mind-blowing part. While Western science spent decades trying to understand how to activate autophagy artificially, Japanese people had been doing it naturally for centuries through their traditional lifestyle. But before we dive into their secrets, let me share something that will change how you think about aging forever. Recent research published in Nature Aging shows that people with the highest autophagy activity live an average of 7 years longer than those with the lowest rates. And guess which population consistently ranks at the top? The Japanese. Now here is where the story gets really interesting. When researchers first started studying Japanese longevity in the 1970s, they expected to find some genetic advantage or medical breakthrough. Instead, they discovered something far more accessible: everyday eating habits that accidentally created the perfect conditions for cellular renewal. The Japanese approach to longevity is not about following strict dietary rules or expensive interventions. Instead, it is rooted in cultural practices that have been refined over generations. From the mountainous regions of mainland Japan to the subtropical islands of Okinawa, these practices have consistently produced some of the world's longest living populations. Today, you're going to discover exactly how they do it and how you can implement these same strategies in your daily life, regardless of where you live or what your current diet looks like. But I need to warn you, what you are about to learn might completely change your relationship with food forever. Picture your cells as tiny cities that never sleep. Every second of every day, they are producing energy, building new structures, and unfortunately accumulating waste. Just like any city, without a proper cleanup system, toxic garbage would pile up until the entire system collapsed. That is where autophagy comes in. It is literally your cellular garbage collection and recycling service. During autophagy, cells create special membrane structures called autophagosomes that patrol your cellular neighborhoods, capturing damaged proteins, worn-out organelles, and other cellular debris. These autophagosomes then deliver their cargo to cellular recycling centers called loss, where everything gets broken down and converted into useful building materials and energy. Here's what makes this process so incredible. When autophagy is working optimally, it does not just clean house. It literally makes your cells younger. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation shows that autophagy is essential for lifespan extension across all studied species, from simple yeast to complex mammals. But here is the catch that most people do not know about. As we age, our autophagy system naturally declines. By the time you reach 60, your autophagy activity is only about 50% of what it was when you were 20. This decline directly correlates with the onset of age-related diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and heart disease. Dr. Osumi's groundbreaking research in the 1990s revealed something remarkable. The same genes that control autophagy in simple yeast cells are present in human cells, performing identical functions. This discovery opened an entirely new field of research with over 5,000 scientific papers now published annually on autophagy. But wait, there's something even more fascinating. Studies published in Autophagy Journal demonstrate that people with more active autophagy pathways do not just live longer. They maintain cognitive function, physical strength, and disease resistance well into their 90s and beyond. They are not just adding years to their life, they are adding life to their years. The connection between autophagy and Japanese longevity becomes crystal clear when we examine their traditional lifestyle. Japanese eating patterns, meal timing, and food choices create an environment where autophagy naturally thrives. This is not coincidence. It is the result of cultural practices that optimize cellular health over many generations. Here's the part that will blow your mind. Different regions of Japan developed unique variations of these practices, yet they all lead to enhanced longevity. Whether it is the centenarian of Okinawa with their sweet potato-based diet or mountain villages where seasonal eating patterns naturally create periods of caloric restriction, the underlying principle remains consistent. They are all activating autophagy, but they did not even know it had a name. When Western researchers first arrived in Japan to study their longevity secrets, they expected to find complex dietary formulas or rare superfoods. Instead, they discovered something that seemed almost too simple to be true. The Japanese had accidentally created the perfect autophagy activation system through basic cultural practices. The traditional Japanese diet known as woku fundamentally differs from Western eating patterns in ways that powerfully promote autophagy. This UNESCO-recognized dietary pattern emphasizes seasonal foods, minimal processing, and specific eating behaviors that create optimal conditions for cellular renewal. Here is something most people miss. Japanese eating culture naturally incorporates intermittent fasting principles without ever calling it that. Traditional Japanese families consume their last meal relatively early in the evening and do not eat again until breakfast, creating natural 12 to 14-hour fasting periods that trigger robust autophagy activation. Research in the New England Journal of Medicine confirms that these eating patterns optimize the conditions necessary for cellular repair. But the genius does not stop there. The concept of ichusansai, one soup, three dishes, creates naturally portion-controlled meals that prevent the metabolic chaos that comes from overeating. When you consume excessive calories, your cells shift from cleanup mode to storage mode, effectively shutting down autophagy processes. The timing of Japanese meals reveals another layer of brilliance. Breakfast tends to be light, lunch serves as the main meal, and dinner is consumed early and kept relatively small. This creates natural periods of metabolic rest throughout the day, allowing autophagy processes to function efficiently around the clock. Traditional Japanese food preparation methods also maximize autophagy activation. Fermentation, which is central to Japanese cuisine through foods like miso and natto, creates beneficial compounds that support cellular health. The emphasis on fresh seasonal ingredients ensures maximum nutrient density while minimizing processed foods that can interfere with autophagy. Even the social aspects of Japanese dining support autophagy activation. Eating together, taking time with meals, and focusing on food without distractions all contribute to better digestion and metabolic health. This creates an environment where autophagy can thrive naturally. Research published in Mechanisms of Aging and Development shows that these traditional Japanese eating patterns create the ideal metabolic conditions for autophagy activation, contributing significantly to their exceptional longevity and health outcomes. In the remote villages of Okinawa, there is a phrase that is spoken before every meal. A simple expression that researchers now believe holds the key to activating autophagy more effectively than any medical intervention. Harahachibu. This confusion-inspired principle instructs people to stop eating when they feel 80% full. When Western scientists first encountered this practice, they dismissed it as folk wisdom. But when they began studying the metabolic effects, they were stunned to discover that harachibu represents one of the most effective ways to naturally activate autophagy through calorie restriction. Here's what makes this practice so powerful. Research published in multiple scientific journals demonstrates that calorie restriction is the most potent method for stimulating autophagy. When food intake is reduced, cells activate autophagy to generate energy from internal sources, breaking down damaged components and recycling them for cellular maintenance. The numbers tell an incredible story. The average Okinawan consumes approximately 1,800 to 900 calories per day, significantly less than the average American intake of over 2,500 calories for men and 1,066 calories for women. This natural calorie restriction achieved through harahibu creates the metabolic conditions necessary for robust autophagy activation. Dr. Brian Wansink's research reveals a crucial insight that explains why this works so well. There is a significant calorie gap between when an American says I am full and an Okinawan says I am no longer hungry. This difference in eating behavior directly impacts autophagy activation and longevity outcomes. But here is the secret that makes harahachibu sustainable where other approaches fail. It works with your body's natural signals rather than against them. The practice involves eating slowly and mindfully, paying attention to internal hunger and satiety cues. This allows the body's natural fullness signals to function properly, preventing overeating while maintaining adequate nutrition. Research shows that it takes approximately 20 minutes for the brain to register fullness signals from the stomach. By eating until 80% full rather than completely satisfied, you naturally reduce caloric intake by 10 to 20%. Exactly the range shown to activate autophagy and extend lifespan in research studies. Studies published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry confirm that this type of moderate sustainable calorie restriction enhances autophagy activity while maintaining proper nutrition and energy levels. The key is consistency. Practicing Hara Hachibu daily creates the metabolic environment necessary for optimal autophagy function. The psychological aspects of Hara Hachibu are equally important. This practice teaches mindful awareness of bodily sensations and creates a healthier relationship with food. Rather than eating until uncomfortable fullness, practitioners learn to recognize subtle satiety signals, leading to better overall health outcomes beyond just autophagy activation. While researchers were searching for exotic compounds and rare nutrients, the most powerful autophagy activators were sitting right there in Japanese teacups and soup bowls. These everyday foods consumed by millions of Japanese people daily contain compounds that directly trigger cellular cleanup processes. Green tea stands as the undisputed champion of autophagy activation in the Japanese diet. Research published in POS 1 demonstrates that epiglycis gallate, or EGCG, the primary active compound in green tea, directly stimulates autophagy pathways in human cells. EGCG increases the formation of autophagosomes and enhances the overall autophagy process. But here is what makes the Japanese approach so brilliant. They do not just drink green tea occasionally. They consume multiple cups throughout the day, providing consistent EGCG exposure and sustained autophagy activation. Studies show that EGCG activates autophagy through the EMPK pathway, one of the major cellular energy sensors that regulate autophagy. Fermented soybeans, known as natto, represent another autophagy powerhouse that is unique to Japanese cuisine. This sticky, pungent food might be an acquired taste, but its longevity benefits are scientifically undeniable. The fermentation process creates bioactive compounds that enhance cellular health and support autophagy function. Seaweed varieties like wakame, nori, and kyu reveal another layer of Japanese nutritional wisdom. These sea vegetables contain compounds shown to activate autophagy, with research in Marine Journal's journal revealing that fukoidin and other seaweed-derived compounds stimulate cellular cleanup processes while providing essential minerals often lacking in land-based diets. Shiitake mushrooms and other fungi common in Japanese cooking contain beta-glucans and other bioactive compounds that promote autophagy. Studies published in Food and Function demonstrate that these mushroom compounds activate cellular detoxification processes while supporting immune function. The Japanese consumption of fatty fish like mackerel, salmon, and sardines provide omega-3 fatty acids that support autophagy activation. Research in cell metabolism shows that these healthy fats help maintain cellular membrane integrity while promoting autophagy processes. Cruciferous vegetables, such as bacon radish and cabbage, contain sulforaphane and other compounds that activate autophagy pathways. Studies in molecular nutrition and food research demonstrate that these vegetables stimulate cellular detoxification processes. Japanese cuisine incorporates these vegetables fresh, pickled, and in soups, ensuring regular consumption of autophagy-promoting compounds. When Dr. Bradley Wilcox and his team began the Okinawa Centenarian Study in the 1970s, they thought they were simply documenting an interesting population. They had no idea they were about to uncover one of the most important discoveries in longevity research. The study, now one of the world's longest-running longevity investigations, has provided crucial insights into the relationship between Japanese dietary patterns and autophagy activation. The results are staggering. Okinawan centenarians maintain remarkably high levels of autophagy markers well into their 90s and beyond, while their Western counterparts show severe autophagy decline by age 70. Comparative studies between Japanese and Western populations revealed differences so significant they have forced scientists to reconsider everything they thought they knew about aging. Research published in Aging Cell demonstrates that Japanese individuals show 30 to 40% higher autophagy activity on average, correlating directly with their lower rates of age-related diseases and extended health span. Recent studies published in Nature Aging show that specific compounds found in traditional Japanese foods directly activate the molecular pathways responsible for autophagy. These findings provide scientific validation for centuries-old dietary traditions that promoted cellular health and longevity. Studies published in Frontiers in Cell and Developmental Biology confirm that autophagy plays a pivotal role in health span and lifespan extension, with Japanese dietary patterns representing one of the most effective natural approaches to autophagy activation discovered to date. The beauty of the Japanese longevity system lies in its simplicity and accessibility. You do not need to move to Okinawa or completely overhaul your life to benefit from these discoveries. Here's how you can start activating autophagy using proven Japanese strategies beginning today. Start with the foundation green tea consumption throughout your day. Aim for 3 to 4 cups to maintain consistent EGCC exposure and autophagy stimulation. Choose high-quality green tea or matcha for maximum compound concentration. Begin practicing harachibu by eating until you feel 80% full rather than completely satisfied. This requires mindful eating and attention to internal hunger and satiety cues. Eat slowly. Put down utensils between bites and focus on the eating experience without distractions. Incorporate autophagy-promoting Japanese foods gradually into your diet. Start with easily accessible options like seaweed snacks, shiaka mushrooms, and high-quality green tea. If available, experiment with fermented foods like miso paste. Structure your eating schedule to create natural fasting periods similar to traditional Japanese patterns. Eat your last meal earlier in the evening. Allow for longer overnight fasting and consider making breakfast lighter. Remember that the Japanese approach to longevity developed over centuries, not days or weeks. Start with 1 or 2 changes and gradually incorporate additional practices as they become natural habits. The remarkable longevity of Japanese populations is not the result of superior genetics or advanced medical interventions. It is the natural outcome of lifestyle and dietary patterns that optimize autophagy, one of our body's most powerful anti-aging mechanisms. Through centuries of cultural evolution, Japanese people developed eating habits that accidentally created perfect conditions for cellular renewal and healthy aging. From the autophagy-promoting compounds in green tea and fermented foods to the natural calorie restriction achieved through harahibu, Japanese traditions offer a scientifically validated blueprint for healthy aging. What makes this knowledge invaluable is its accessibility. You do not need expensive supplements or complex protocols to benefit from these longevity strategies. The research is conclusive. Autophagy activation through dietary and lifestyle modifications represents one of our most powerful tools for healthy aging. Japanese culture has mastered this approach over centuries, and now you have the scientific knowledge to implement these time-tested strategies. The connection between ancient wisdom and modern science has never been clearer. While Dr. After Asumi was discovering autophagy in his laboratory, Japanese centenarians were living proof of its power. Now it is your turn to harness this cellular superpower and unlock your potential for healthy, vibrant longevity. As scientists continue to explore autophagy, a deeper realization is emerging. Aging is not merely the passage of time. It is the gradual loss of the body's ability to renew itself at the cellular level. Autophagy represents the language through which cells communicate renewal, resilience, and survival. When this process remains active, the body does not simply resist disease. It preserves balance, adaptability, and internal harmony. This is why populations that unknowingly supported autophagy for generations did not merely live longer, but lived with clarity, strength, and independence late into life. What makes the Japanese experience so compelling is that it reveals a truth modern science is only now beginning to fully appreciate. Longevity does not emerge from chasing extremes. It arises from consistency, rhythm, and respect for biological limits. Autophagy thrives in environments that are neither excessive nor deprived, but balanced. Japanese culture, shaped by geography, seasonality, and tradition, created this balance long before microscopes or molecular biology existed. This understanding challenges a deeply ingrained assumption in modern society. Many people believe aging is inevitable decline, something to be managed only through medication or advanced medical technology. Autophagy tells a different story. It suggests that the body already contains sophisticated systems designed to protect and renew itself. These systems do not require constant intervention. They require the right conditions to function as intended. The most striking insight from decades of longevity research is that autophagy does not operate in isolation. It influences inflammation, immune resilience, metabolic stability, and even brain health. When autophagy functions efficiently, damaged components are removed before they can trigger chronic inflammation. Cellular communication improves. Energy production becomes more efficient. Over time, this creates a biological environment where disease struggles to take hold. Japanese centenarians embody this reality. Their longevity is not defined by the absence of hardship. Many live through war, scarcity, and profound social change. Yet their bodies adapted. Autophagy played a silent but powerful role in that adaptation, allowing their cells to recycle, conserve, and regenerate under varying conditions. This resilience, repeated day after day over decades, accumulated into extraordinary health spans. Modern research now confirms what tradition demonstrated without explanation. Autophagy is not a switch that turns on occasionally. It is a continuous process that responds to how the body is treated over time. Cultures that honored moderation, simplicity, and biological rhythms unknowingly protected this process. Cultures that embraced constant excess disrupted it. The story of autophagy is also a reminder of humility in science. Dr. Osumi's discovery did not invent a new mechanism. It revealed one that had existed since the earliest forms of life. Yeast cells, human cells, and entire populations across history have relied on this same process. The difference lies not in biology, but in how lifestyles either support or suppress it. As research advances, autophagy is increasingly viewed not just as an anti-aging mechanism, but as a foundation of long-term vitality. It reframes aging from an unstoppable force into a dynamic process shaped by daily biological signals. This perspective does not promise immortality. It offers something more meaningful: the possibility of preserving function, dignity, and engagement with life as years accumulate. The Japanese longevity model stands as living evidence of this principle. It shows that when cultural habits align with cellular needs, extraordinary outcomes become ordinary. Long life is no longer an anomaly. It becomes a natural extension of how life is lived. In the end, autophagy bridges ancient wisdom and modern science. It connects the quiet rituals of daily life with the invisible activity inside every cell. It reminds us that the body is not fragile by design. It is resilient, adaptive, and intelligent when given the chance to function as nature intended. This is the deeper lesson behind Japanese longevity. Not the pursuit of youth, but the preservation of renewal. Not the fear of aging, but an understanding of it. Autophagy is not merely a scientific concept. It is a biological narrative of balance, restraint, and renewal written into every living cell. And as science continues to decode this narrative, one truth becomes increasingly clear. The future of healthy aging may not lie in discovering something new, but in remembering what has always been there. If you found this information valuable and want to start implementing these Japanese longevity strategies, please type yes in the comments below. It motivates us to create more evidence-based content like this. Do not forget to like this video if it provided useful insights. Share it with anyone who might benefit from learning about autophagy and longevity. And subscribe to our channel for more scientifically backed health content. Thank you for watching. And here is to your journey toward enhanced cellular health and longevity.